Hey, good, it's recording. Hi guys. So in case you don't know, I'm Emily. It's been my third YouTube video. You can see my others on my channel, as I'm sure you know. Yeah, I want to talk today a little bit more about veganism. If you've watched my hello Brandy. If you've watched my first video, then you'll know that I've been vegan for 10 years now. I'm 22, so I went vegan when I was 12. And I sort of wanted this video to be a bit of a bridging the gap between vegetarians and meat eaters and vegans. Because I feel like a lot of the time there's some miscommunication going on, because vegans come at it from a different angle, if you know what I mean. So how meat eaters and even vegetarians think of animals and think of the vegan lifestyle is completely different to how vegans think of it. So so I just wanted to sort of like talk about that a bit today, because yeah, I just feel like because that could be the cause of some animosity, between people with different lifestyles. So yeah, let's just start from the beginning, really. So what is a vegan? A vegan is someone who avoids all animal products. So doesn't eat meat, doesn't eat milk, doesn't eat eggs or anything like that. Now this, some of you might know this, most you probably do, but it actually occurred to me not that long ago when I started going out with my current boyfriend. He had no idea what a vegan was, and none of his family did. And I guess because I spend quite a lot of time on social media, as I'm sure some of you probably do, um, you know, most people kind of know what vegans are on there, generally, well, the bits that I check out anyway. And whether it's, oh, vegans and something or the other, or people going vegan or whatever. Most people tend to know what it is, but I realised actually, meeting him and like his family, no idea, never met a vegan before, had no idea what a vegan was. And I thought, well, their only kind of source is from either vegans themselves or from people who have ideas about what vegans are. So yeah, so I just wanted to say, basically, vegans, people who avoid all animal products, so no meat, no milk, eggs, or anything with them in it, like cheese, no sort of leather, beeswax, honey, wool, and nothing tested on animals. That's sort of like the baseline of the vegan lifestyle. A lot of people think it's just dietary as well, and that is obviously a big part of it, because the main thing that's going to change if you go vegan is going to be the diet. Food and stuff. It's mainly food that we label vegan. Some cosmetics are as well. But yeah, that'll be kind of like the main lifestyle shift if you're planning to go vegan. So I think that's why a lot of people focus mainly on the diet. And there is a difference between plant-based and vegan. That has to do with the kind of ethics of it and the reasons behind it. You can abide by the vegan diet without having a vegan lifestyle, but generally in the vegan community it's understood that you have a plant-based lifestyle, a plant-based diet, or a vegan lifestyle, which encompasses, no products tested on animals, and stuff like that, which isn't really health related. So yeah, sorry if this is really shaky, by the way, I'm balancing my laptop on like 2 pillows, so professional. And sorry if you can hear my cat purring as well. She's lovely, but she's a pain in the ass. So yeah, that's basically what a vegan is. Now, why people are vegan has to do primarily with the animals. I mean, that's why the term came about, was to try and lessen animal suffering and do as little harm as possible. That doesn't mean no harm, and again, a lot of people say that vegans are hypocrites, but it's impossible to do no harm. It's impossible to not go outside and step on an ant accidentally, or, I don't know, drive a car that can add to pollution, that can, cause harm to the environment and consequently to animals. But it's about doing the least harm possible. Now, given that if vegans are vegans for the animals, a lot of people will kind of ask, why isn't vegetarianism enough? Why isn't, not eating them enough? Because a lot of people still think with milk or eggs or even animal testing, that the animals aren't really harmed. Especially like with milk and eggs, people think, well, they're just going to have it anyway, and with wool and things like that as well. a lot of people just think, well, they're producing it, so we're just kind of like taking, extra that they don't need. But it's actually very different from that. I'll include some links below as well, I'll explain a bit more detail, but for now I'll just go sort of overview of it really. So yeah, with cows, a lot of people still think that cows just produce milk whenever, but that's not true. They are mammals, and like us and like all other mammals, they have to have a child in order to produce milk, and they produce milk for that child. Now because of this, cows are continuously made pregnant in the dairy industry. So, and obviously the calf can't drink the milk because we want the milk. So the calves are taken away after a few hours to like a day or two. And the female calves are taken off, put back in the system basically to be dairy cows. And the male calves are taken off for veal, so they're killed. Again, sometimes they're killed straight away, sort of like a day after, and just shot in the head. And sometimes they're kept for a bit and then killed. But that's the way that like profitable farms have to function. Some people say, in like a small farm that doesn't happen, or that's only in factory farms, or that's really rare, or it's not in this country. But the bottom line is, for any farmer to make a profit from selling milk, that the calf can't have the milk, and the cow has to be pregnant. So what happens to that calf? They can't keep it just because they want to, because it still costs them money, so they have to make some profit out of it. So no matter what, the calf has to be pregnant, the cow has to get pregnant, has to keep getting pregnant. The calf has to be taken away because we need the milk. Don't need the milk, we want the milk. And the male calves, who are disposable, they're not needed anymore. So the only way to make money out of them and not waste money on them is to sell them for veal. So yeah, that's the problem that we have with milk. With eggs, it is slightly similar in that male chicks are killed, because obviously to keep having more hens, they need to breed, they need to, have eggs, fertilised eggs and chicks inside them, but they can't tell the sex of the chick before, they hatch. So because male chicks are disposable, they don't need loads of cockerels, they need loads of hens. So the male chicks are disposed of, either gassed, or some are put in a grinder alive. I'm not sure where that is, but some are. Some are suffocated. It's a range of different horrible deaths, but it's still a lot of death. And I mean, on top of that, and again back to the cows as well, the conditions that they're kept in, they're not good, basically. No matter what the farm is, if it's free range farm, if it's cage free, the big cage free lie, that's great. But no matter what it is, the farmers at the end of the day need to make money, and they don't have the space, and it's a lot more profitable to have a small amount of space with a lot of animals than it is to have a massive space, fields and fields, and just let them roam around all the time. So they can't do that. So the cows and the chickens, I'll focus on the chickens for now because I've just done the cows, but the chickens, they're still, even if they're free range, kept in sheds most of their life. They're let out couple of hours a day maybe, and even then, what with henpecking and everything, it's another thing I'll come on to, half of them don't get let outside because there's still a hierarchy. Because if you get any animal, including humans, together in a tight space, there's going to be some kind of hierarchy thing. Who gets the food first? Who gets this first? Everyone's a bit angsty and stuff. So, half of them don't even get to see light at all, and it's heartbreaking for me to see the cage-free, free-range, natural lie, and people buy into it, and people think they're doing good, and it's horrible, because they aren't horrible people. Like, my nan, she was vegetarian for a while, and then she got organic meat and free-range, and was like, oh, it's fine now, animal welfare's fine, it doesn't matter. And it's horrible, because she didn't mean to do bad, she didn't mean to, pay for these animals to go through this. She was lied to. She was told they had a happy life, and they don't. And no matter what farm it is, they don't have a happy life because it's not profitable. And at the end of the day, that's what they're there for. They're there for money, and that's what vegans are against, is animals being alive because humans want to make money, basically. And that's what meat, milk, dairy, wool, which I'll get onto in a minute, all those industries are there for. They're there to make money out of animals. And whenever you reduce a being to a product, that being's welfare is not the primary concern of the owner. It's not. It never will be. I mean, now I want to talk a little bit more about the conditions that these animals live in, because I realise actually I haven't talked about meat at all, which some people might not know about. I guess as a vegan I sort of always skip past that because I tend to forget that people don't know about it, if you know what I mean. Which again, I think, coming from a more vegan perspective, and almost forgetting where other people are coming from. So this will include kind of the meat industry as well. Obviously, vegetarians and vegans in general don't like that animals are killed for us to eat. And I mean, it's not just that, but that's the primary thing. I mean, I was brought up vegetarian, so I sort of always thought it was odd that people ate meat. I mean, my dad ate meat, and quite a few people in my family have. But I just thought, well, it's not for me. I wouldn't do that, basically. But then again, I was brought up vegetarian, so. But yeah, a little bit about the sort of conditions that the animals are raised in. Both dairy cows and beef cows, and pigs as well. I'll cover that, and broiler hens, broiler chicks, and egg laying hens. Now, animal welfare standards are an interesting thing that tends to come up when we talk about the living conditions of the animals, because they are in place. There are animal welfare regulations in place in the UK, and I think it's different in the US, but I don't know a lot about the US. But certainly over here, we do have standards, but they're very, very low. Now, I studied this a bit because I did a veterinary nursing course at uni for a short while. And I've also done sort of other online courses, animal welfare, animal behaviour, that kind of thing. And because these animals are livestock, they're like product animals. They're not really animals, they're just kind of for profit. A lot of the regulations don't apply to them. For example, with cats and dogs and things, you have to provide them with their most natural habitat, with food and water and everything, allow them to display natural behaviours, allowed to have company, things like that, and free from any harm and things like that. That is solely pets. It doesn't apply to these animals because they're just there for money. They're product, essentially. The things, obviously there are regulations for farm animals, but, well, I'll tell you one that I remember which shocked me quite a lot, was for cows, their living conditions. They can't live in muck or anything like that, and I know that a lot of people say, no, but they live in good conditions because they're not allowed to live in bad conditions. They're not allowed to live in bad conditions, but they're not allowed, they can live in kind of shitty conditions. For example, for them to be free range, they are allowed out, I think it's 3 months out of a year, so they could be inside for the majority of their lives. 9 months, they'd still be cooped up. I mean, you'll spread that out, so, a few hours a day, or, well, not a few hours a day, a few hours a week, I can't even work it out, but it's still not that much time outside. They still have a hell of a lot of time inside, and by inside, I mean in tiny pens. And when I say tiny pens, the welfare standard for cows, I think it's dairy cows, might be all cows, can't remember, is they have to be able to stand up, turn around and lie down, that's it. And that's where they are. That's where they spend most of their lives. And when you think about it, that's not much of a life at all. That's like restricting someone to a bed for most of their life. And it's horrible because, like cage free as well, with chickens, I mean, cage-free literally just means cage-free. So if you're in a massive shed and you're a chicken, then instead of being in tiny cages where your claws, you know, are kind of bound to the cage bars and, you know, you're pecking your feathers out because you can't move, instead the cage is taken away. But so instead of standing on a cage door or a cage floor, you're standing on other chickens because there's still the same amount of chickens in the shed. That doesn't change. It's still incredibly overcrowded. You still get henpecking, which, by the way, henpecking is obviously when the chickens get so overcrowded that they start to peck their own feathers out and peck other chickens' feathers out, and there's a lot of fighting and things like that. So they not dock their beaks. What do you call it? Debeaking. So without anaesthetic, that's pretty much standard without anaesthetic. They chop the tips of their beaks off, which obviously there's nerve endings there. That's incredibly sensitive. They usually do it with chicks, sometimes when they're older. Either way, it's fucking horrible. I mean, and again, with sheep, lambs, and pigs as well, tail docking, that's a thing, because they tend to nibble at each other's tails because they have nothing else to do, they're incredibly overcrowded, and they're not happy animals. These are stereotypic behaviours, which if these animals were well, I'll get on to zoos, but if these animals were in a house, it's like a dog pacing up and down, and that's all it will do because it's gone insane because it has such a small area. Even when it goes outside of this tiny cage that it's been in its whole life, it'll still just walk the length of that cage because that's what it's used to. These behaviours show that these animals aren't right, and the fact that they have to dock their tails, debeak them, etc., shows that obviously these animals aren't happy there. I mean, the excuse that a lot of farmers and people give is, we have to debeak them, we have to do this because otherwise they'll attack each other. Well, if they attack each other, surely there's something wrong there. Naturally they don't. If they're given enough space, if they're given everything they need, they're not going to do that, because why would they do that in nature? That is a stereotypic behaviour. And so, sorry, went a bit of a rant there, but you can see again, which is another point about vegans, and you can see why we tend to get a little bit angry sometimes, because it is so frustrating that this stuff is happening and we can't stop it. We do what we can, but we can't do enough, it feels like, a lot of the time. I have a feeling it's going to be a very long video, so I'll end it here. If you want me to go more in detail about anything, I'll leave some links down below. If you want me to talk about wool, leather, bees, anything like that, then I will. Yeah, leave me your comments, subscribe, like, all that, and yeah, I will see you soon. Love you.